Hamidakipi. I am Jennifer Bone, Chief of Sioux Valley Dakota Nation, and today is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. On July 20th, 2021, the Government of Canada officially passed legislation to make September 30th a federal statutory holiday known as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Formerly Orange Shirt Day, this day provides an opportunity for the public to recognize and commemorate the impact and reality of Indian residential schools. Today marks the third year of this day being a federally recognized holiday. For some, this is a new topic and with many truths and stories that need to not only be heard but to be understood. Through listening and understanding, we honor, recognize, and commemorate the survivors and children that lost their lives in the Indian residential schools. In the spirit of reconciliation, we can come together to reflect on this historic day. This day honors the lost children, the survivors of residential schools, their families, their communities. Public commemoration of the tragic and painful history and ongoing impacts of residential schools is a vital component of the reconciliation process. This day is important for all of Canada to learn and understand the true history of the Indian residential schools and the long-standing challenges that continue to impact our people through intergenerational trauma. So for those just learning about these truths and are curious about what they can do to honor today, teach these truths to the younger generation, do some research into the 94 calls to action, listen to the survivors who are willing to share their stories, and remember, every child matters.
Councillor Michelle Rosmus from Wipazokawakwa-Wiyate. National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is to educate, speak, remember, and honor all residential school survivors. Our families were faced with the hardest act by mankind, having our children forcibly removed from their parents, their families, their homes, and their communities. The only world that a 5-year-old understood. These children were taken and ultimately faced many traumas and heartaches by having been displaced at such a young age. Sadly, these are traumas that are still faced with today. Imagine your child or children taken out of your arms, your children not in the safe surroundings of their own home. Imagine a community without children, no laughter, just silence. Reflect on that for a moment. Children are taken to unfamiliar surroundings, displaced, unloved, malnourished, and basically uncared for. If that's not hard enough, these children were forbidden to speak their language and practice their culture, the only language and culture they knew. And again, if that's not hard enough, let's add on the abuse. Children are physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually abused at residential schools. Let's take the time today and every day going forward to remember those children who died and were never returned to their communities. The children who are buried in unmarked graves across Canada all had parents and families wondering where their child was or what happened to them and when will they return, but hearing nothing. I'm talking thousands of children throughout Canada died and were buried unceremoniously and anonymously. Saturday, September the 30th, marks National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, a day where Canadians reflect upon the experience and history of Indigenous Métis Inuit communities in Canada. Today, I share with you the truth of what our people have endured. I ask for truth and understanding at all levels across Canada. If the truth continues to be denied and unheard, how can there be reconciliation? Every child matters. Padamayaya.
Greetings to all my friends and relatives. My name is Trisha Hayward and I am the Director of Intergovernmental Relations and the Implementation Department for Sioux Valley Dakota Nation. I was asked to come and speak a little bit about reconciliation, what that means to me, and how I feel about it. So I wanted to start with a quote. In 2015, Ryan Morin of the Globe and Mail wrote, "Reconciliation means finding the courage to look at our past with eyes wide open, unafraid to see our country at its worst, and then humbly take steps to heal the damage done. Truth and Reconciliation Day is important to me because I am an intergenerational survivor. My grandma, Kay Stevenson, attended the Elkhorn Residential School. She was one of the many children who was taken from their parents. I remember my grandma telling me that her brother was in the same school, but she was not allowed to talk with him. And that made me sad. There are many things that my grandma did that I now realize were because of the time she spent at residential school. And unfortunately, time has passed and I cannot have those conversations with her about those experiences anymore. Truth and Reconciliation is a federal holiday, but the province of Manitoba has had many opportunities to take steps towards reconciliation with Indigenous people. They could have done this in a variety of different ways, making Orange Shirt Day or Truth and Reconciliation Day a provincial holiday, or by searching the landfill for the remains of Mercedes Myron and Morgan Harris. Unfortunately, the cost of doing what is right is the excuse that our province has used not to follow through or promote reconciliation. It's unfortunate that it is always the Indigenous people's responsibility to inform and educate Canadians so that we can begin our healing process. I hope today everyone takes some time to reflect on the damage caused by residential schools, but also to look towards the future with a sense of hope and healing.
Ho, doke, yaunhe, mie Adam amakia pudo. Hello, how are you? My name is Adam. September 30th marks Truth and Reconciliation Day. I've recently learned some cultural and historical knowledge from an elder in the community. He told me about the 7 sacred council fires. The first 4 represent the 4 directions, and the last 3 represent above, below, and within. The Freedom Riders represent the 4 directions as they travel from community to community and carry the prayers and healing of all those kids in all those other residential schools, and they ride to Brandon to release and heal in that moment. Above, below, and within. Above is our department at the lands, where we fly the drones and we gather research all year. Below would be Katherine Nichols and her team, as they do their ground penetrating radar, their EM and their MEG technology searches. They search underneath the land for this very important work on the Sacred Children Project. Within, to me, that's what this day is when we all come together from all backgrounds in the spirit of unity to seek that truth and be a part of that reconciliation. I hope to see you there this Saturday. Padamya Pado, Wopida Achichie Pado. Thank you, and I'm grateful for us all.
Hi, my name is Katherine Nichols. I'm the project manager for Sioux Valley Dakota Nation's Residential School Missing Children's Investigation. Today is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and we were asked to think about what reconciliation means to us and our team. And it's really a challenging question to answer, because reconciliation is going to take probably longer than my lifetime to achieve. Right now, we're working on one of the first steps, which is trying to get answers for families around their missing children. And we're also trying to just basically get access for families to visit these sacred sites where their children are resting right now. So essentially what we're working towards is transitional justice. We want to have truth as well as reconciliation. And that's what it means to myself working here in southwestern Manitoba, boots on the ground, so to speak. On this day of National Truth and Reconciliation, Sioux Valley Dakota Nation is hosting an event at the Brandon Residential School site, so we encourage everyone to come out. We'll be having survivors sharing their stories and other activities, and a lunch. And we also just wanted to say that there'll be other activities at the Brandon's Riverbank Discovery Center that people can feel free to participate in, because it's important to recognize this long history and the truth of families and survivors of their experiences of what happened on this day. So I encourage everyone to come out.
Hi, my name's Brent Parin, and I work for Sioux Valley in their Brandon Residential School Missing Children's Investigation Project. Today is the National Truth and Reconciliation Day, and it's very important to me and our team because today is a day that brings people together. It's a day that will be about reflection, and a day that we can acknowledge the past and the traumas and injustices that happened to the Indigenous people. We hope to build pathways to move forward for the healing process by gathering together and sharing stories and just learning from each other on ways that we can help each other move forward. It's an important day because it provides the opportunity to educate the public and the following generations about the past and the traumatic and traumatizing experiences that survivors of the residential schooling system had to go through. It's a day that we can help educate them to provide insight into the ways of healing and moving forward through reconciliation. I encourage people to participate in this day, to take part in the events that are held in each individual person's community, to go out, learn, experience the teachings and the education of what happened on and why this day is a national holiday. It's a way to learn about the residential schooling system and to educate yourself, your family, your peers, your community about the past, Canada's past, and ways that you can help promote reconciliation and healing. So on this day, I hope you can come out and participate, learn from the elders, learn from the community about all the things that this day means, and to help promote reconciliation. So I thank you.
My name is Leanda Hilda, and today is September 30th, National Truth and Reconciliation Day. I work for the Brandon IRS investigation team as the admin and education coordinator. On September 11th to the 14th, my team hosted the gathering for the healing of the generations. And from listening to the survivors and the families of children that attended the schools, my concept of reconciliation has changed. Reconciliation is to heal the souls and the spirits, to regrow broken relationships with ourselves, our culture, and our people, and to reconnect what it means to be First Nation and Canadian, and building a relationship with new Canadians as they come in and learn about the history of Canada's dark history of the residential schools. So today is important to me because my grandparents attended the residential schools and most of my aunts and uncles attended the day schools. Myself and my cousins were the first in our generation to attend the schools not run in the residentials, where our education was focused on education and not assimilation of my culture or our people. But I didn't learn about the residential schools in schools. The truth is, I learned them from family. It was a history that we weren't being taught because it was not viewed as important in Canada. And there is a misconception of truth of it happened 100 years ago, so it shouldn't matter today. But it started 100 years ago, and it only ended in the 90s. There are survivors could be as young as in their 30s and 40s. That's not a whole long time ago. That's not 100 years ago. And we need to learn this truth so that the healing journey can actually properly start and reconciliation can properly start. So without the truth, this is all meaningless. So on this day, listen to the stories of survivors and their families. Understand their truths so that we can learn how reconciliation will go forward in the right way. And don't be afraid to learn about the culture. Don't be afraid to engage. This is what today is meant to be. It's to learn as one nation, to heal. And hopefully this will never happen ever again to anybody. And that we can be one strong nation again and heal all the broken relationships going forward.
My name is Ling Jin. Today is the National Truth and Reconciliation Day. I work as the Records Research Coordinator in Brandon Residential School Missing Children Investigation Project with Sioux Valley Dakota Nation. Truth and reconciliation means admit the history. As a new Canadian, I came to Canada with zero knowledge of this part of the history, and today is important to me and to every one of us. It provides us an opportunity to learn about this part of the history. I'm lucky enough to be in part of this project so I can learn about Indigenous culture and history every day. Today, I encourage every one of us, Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, we get together, learn about this part of the history, and moving forward to this ongoing healing journey to the true reconciliation.
Good morning. I'm Katherine Whitecloud from Weepazoka, commonly known as Sioux Valley Dakota Nation, and today is September 30th, the third year of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation here in Canada. Reconciliation means addressing the truth, acknowledging the truth, and agreeing to moving forward in a respectful relationship. That is what personal reconciliations mean. And it actually is also what reconciliation means between two groups of people. And we've reached this point in Canada as people whose family and relationships go much beyond the borders that have been established by a foreign government. For us, reconciliation is all encompassing amongst all of our people and amongst the Oceti Shikowi. And it's not just relevant here in Canada, it's also relevant in the United States. We're really cognizant of that because of our family relationships and our extended family relationships. The importance of acknowledging that we were here, we've always been here, and that there is a definitive need for those settlers who came to this country and were welcomed to know our history, to acknowledge it, and to be an active participant in what we call reconciliation, reconciling all those wrongs that have happened in the past, understanding what those wrongs were, and also addressing the truth of those wrongs. Wrongs being having land taken away, having forced education on our people to eradicate our language and our culture. Education and children were used as a means to get rid of the Indian problem. We are not an Indian problem. We are vital to the importance of how the country moves forward. We have answers for many things that these countries are grappling with these days: climate change, relationships with newcomers, taking care of the water, taking care of the land. We are gifted people. We've been given special gifts by our Creator that was intended to utilize to keep balance within what we know as North America and across North America. And that imbalance we now find ourselves in an imbalance, especially with regards to the land and climate, and a really huge imbalance in relationships generally. It's not just our people that suffer from the lack of reconciliation, the lack of balance in relationships. It's also our relatives that are what we call our black relatives, the ones that came also here and forced into labor. They also suffer from the lack of reconciliation. But for us here in Canada, this being National Truth and Reconciliation Day, it's about respecting the gifts that our Creator has given to us specifically. It's about respecting our knowledge. It's about respecting our rights as a people as defined in many different forums through the United Nations and otherwise. But more importantly, it's about respecting what it is the Creator has given us as responsibilities individually and as a people. What needs to happen in Canada is that those people that came here need to understand what their relationship with their Creator is and what their responsibilities are. We each have responsibilities, and we each as a nation have responsibilities, which then creates the balance that was always intended across all of Turtle Island, but also around the world. And we have such a huge imbalance going on now, which is why we have conflict, we have strife. So reconciliation is really about respecting each other, acknowledging the truth, and agreeing to move forward. Where we're stuck is acknowledging the truth and respecting each other. Respect is such an easy thing if you grow up with it, and if you acknowledge that in order for us to have a relationship, even on a personal level, we need to respect each other's diversity, the diversity of our opinions, diversity of how we approach things, because in the end, it all comes together as one for the well-being and the good of all, for the country as well as people and the land and the climate, etc. And we have a responsibility to do that as adults who understand what reconciliation is, or should understand, so that we can teach our children. Because right now, it's the reverse. Education was used as a tool to force our people into corrals, to force our people into a way of life that is not ours, and to force our people into trying to fit into a mold that belongs to people that came here from across the ocean. And we don't need to fit into that mold. We need to fulfill our responsibilities and the gifts that our Creator gave us for how we are to live a good life, and for how we are to help each other, and for how we are to take care of each other. And that's where reconciliation is stuck. A refusal to acknowledge the truth, and a refusal to respect the giftedness of our people, the giftedness of each person, but specifically to our people, the giftedness that we have and the responsibility we have first and foremost to those responsibilities given to us by our Creator. And I know that that's a really huge ball of wax to unwind, but it's really simple in its truth. Simple in the sense that we all have a purpose, and we all have a right to fulfill that purpose without constraint, and that's where we're stuck. It's important to me because I want my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, to live in a peaceful society, to be able to fulfill their role as Dakota children, to be able to live their life as Dakota children, and to be able to have a happy life without having to worry about racism, without having to worry about harm, and without having to worry about something being inflicted and forced upon them that has nothing to do with who they are as a human being, but rather has something to do with the fact that they are a Dakota person. And that is not okay, and that's why it's important to me, because I grew up with that, and I've spent my entire lifetime working towards having a balance where my grandchildren can grow up happy and peaceful and free to be who they are intended to be. Reconciliation is much more than just one day. It doesn't happen in one day. What you learn in one day, you have to utilize again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And every day of our lifetime, it's about having respectful relationships with anyone and everyone that comes across our path. It's about respecting our understandings about our role in life as we understand it, as we've been directed by our Creator. And it's also about working together to make a better life for everybody, and acknowledging that each person has their path, and eventually that path comes together so that it benefits everybody in a good way, in a positive way. And we are still on that that trajectory of everybody's doing their own path and it's not coming together in any sort of way, and therefore we have conflict because one is trying to force their ideology in what they want on another group of people, and that just does not work. You know, as Justice Murray Sinclair said, reconciliation goes beyond one day, and it's a path that we choose to walk together respectfully and acknowledging each other's differences, accepting it, and also respecting that we can come together still to do good things that need to be done. In our culture, it's our elders, what we call Wichashatanka, Wiantanka, that guide us, that give us the benefit of their knowledge from their life experience and all they've learned over their lifetime. And in our case now, it's reversed, because what we're having to do is we're having to teach the children so that the children can teach the adults what it means to be fair, what it means to be equal, what it means to respect each other. And that's where the cart has been reversed, in that it's children having to teach adults, much the same as it's children that are teaching that we have to recycle to take care of the earth. And we as adults have abdicated our responsibility to be the ones to lead in that process. We've placed that responsibility on children. And that is such an unfair thing to do as adults, as parents and grandparents, as people who are, if we're going to speak about government, as government not fulfilling their role in leading in reconciliation, when we still have laws imposed on us that dictate to us who we can be, what we can be, and even our names are dictated to us still by government. That's not okay. That's not reconciliation. No one should determine ever for me or my children or my grandchildren what our name can be. That's a simple example, but the name that we carry is very, very special. The name that we carry was given to us by our Creator, and that for us is a responsibility we carry for our lifetime and throughout all the generations following us. And so even that simple example is where Canada is still stuck, where they determine what name you can carry and what number you can carry. We are not numbers, we're human beings, and we have a place in society, in general society, for us to share our giftedness and to share what we have been given in knowledge to help this country be what it's supposed to be, and to help our people be what we were intended to be. Wopida mitakewas.